Oh, hey everyone. Sorry I didn't see you there. I'm just so relaxed. Glad you could make it. As many of you know, back in August, we teamed up with the folks at Manticore to host the 6th Extra Credits Game Jam. And as soon as our CM Arthur announced the jam's theme of Take Care, a ton of you in our amazing community got to work crafting some innovative, quirky, and unique games all within 72 hours. So today, the EC crew and I headed on over to this animated day spa/jam arcade to take some self-care time for ourselves and show off a few submissions that caught our eye to highlight the wacky, wonderful work you all did. Thanks so much to Core for sponsoring this game jam. To check out their new free platform for creating and playing games, download Core at the link below. Now, this relaxing experience kinda pushes the boundaries for what a game can be. To play it, you simply move your character to a certain spot, then relax and meditate. You can set a timer for how long you'd like to meditate, track how much you've meditated, and even meditate with others in multiplayer, which honestly is a pretty welcome addition for me personally during this time of social distance. You can also just walk around the environment and practice mindfulness virtually. And while future iterations could use some more detailed instructions for beginners and different meditation options, as it stands, it feels great to take a virtual few minutes for a little self-reflection. Now, of course, once you've opened your eyes and remember what's happening outside your mindful utopia, I bet this next game's got what you crave. Extra Care. Okay, this game is awesome because the designers identified a unique social need for catharsis and built a game around that. Basically, you run around shooting masks onto unmasked bean faces, hopefully trying to flatten the curve of a pandemic, in a manner that probably wouldn't go over very well in real life. Granted, the mechanics are somewhat simple, but that's quickly forgotten once you start obsessing over how many bean lives you can save. Though if you're looking for something a little less hectic, may I present to you Game of 1,000 Poems. A beautiful example of a game jam project that picks a clear premise and executes it well. The way you play is simple. A few randomly generated lines of poetry appear on the screen. You pick one and then build a completely unique poem, choosing lines one after the other. While there's not a whole lot more to the mechanics, the design work behind the seemingly random lines, based off of your previous choices, ends up with you creating a totally unique piece of art every time you play with just a few clicks. It's incredibly satisfying, not to mention some of the poems turn out really beautifully. However, if you're looking to catch some feels in a different way, you might want to try Hatchling. Here you play as a mother bird needing to keep her hatchling fed. But as you dive through the water to catch fish, it slowly starts filling up with plastic trash that makes it harder and harder to keep your baby fed. We really gravitated towards this game because as you play, you do end up getting increasingly attached to your hatchling and start to feel more and more responsible as you struggle to keep it fed. And through its effective art style, the game promotes an important environmental message. In fact, we really found ourselves wishing there was a bit more narrative elements to really hit all the points home, though that could come in later iterations as the gameplay feels very polished. Now, of course, if you are less of a bird person, you should probably head on over to the Lemming farm. Wait a minute, there's a lemming farm at our day spa? Alright, I'm into it. While many people looked at our theme and designed their games around taking care of small creatures, Lemming Farm took that concept in the other direction and let it run right off a cliff by designing a game where you have to stop lemmings from wandering off a circular platform. Now we know that the concept of saving lemmings has been around for a while, and it is just a single gameplay loop. Where we were really impressed was by this game's unique environment and creative use of core assets to create its lemmings simply by combining a number of shapes in the engine. Plus it's all multiplayer, so you can prevent cute animals from falling to their deaths with your friends. Oh, and speaking of falling, Fall of Bronze. Nothing like a game you can't win that's still a really good time to play. Fall of Bronze chose a very interesting way to interact with the theme. You can take care of your empire the best you can, though no matter what you do, it is destined to fall. So the challenge comes in by seeing how long you can make it last. Now, there's an impressive amount of interlocking systems here, so it's definitely possible that pushing one button will start a domino effect that you don't understand at the time until you're standing in the rubble of your once great civilization, but that's also kind of the fun. Now, if you've never played a strategy game before, you might end up feeling a little lost, but even so, this game accomplishes a lot with very little. And if you dug this minimalist UI and are a fan of horror, you'll want to be keeping your eye on Always Watching. Oh man, this was one of those entries that we were shocked was done in just 72 hours. a horror game about taking care of a school before summer break. Always Watching has some of my favorite features. Creepy voices? Check. Looming sense of dread? Check. Constantly shifting planes of reality? Double check. It's a delightfully spooky game and a great example of tightly focused design. And while it definitely had some rough edges, for instance, you might find yourself closing doors on your own face, and the creepy voices while hair-raising are a little hard to hear sometimes, you should absolutely play this game if you love horror and want to see a phenomenal example of minimalist environmental storytelling. Okay, too spooky for you? Well, what about a change of scenery where you have to defend the wilderness? An MMO for a game jam? Well, now I've seen everything. In this game, you get to explore a gorgeous landscape and defend it and yourselves against zombies, cultists, and even dinosaurs. Though granted, the game's world is so big, it definitely could have used some design cues to tell the players where to go at first, as some of us couldn't actually find the wilderness right away. But once we got there, and got to experience an 8-player co-op in a very pretty world, this game was a blast to play with friends. It's kinda like a team of park rangers taking care of the great outdoors, but with daggers. Now, if more of an abstract world to wander is more your fancy, then you should probably mosey into Thinkers and Wanderers. This is a game where you wander and leave messages for other people to find with only one rule: be kind to each other. It's kinda like Dark Souls without the combat and memeing strangers off cliffs via messages. Thinkers and Wanderers encourages the player to explore within its first few moments, and it's interesting to see how players either congregate together, passing messages back and forth, or walk out as far as they can. There was even a time when I thought I'd gone farther than anyone else, only to find another small blobby friend who asked me, "Am I alone?" "No, buddy, I'm here." And the last time I checked in, people were already using this game to create scavenger hunts, continue long lines of people's messages, and even making their own games within the game. Wait a minute, a game jam game within a game jam game? Did we just accidentally come up with our next theme? Now that was exactly the type of gaming self-care we all needed. If you successfully completed the jam, whether it was your first jam or you've lost track of how many you've done, congratulations. Crafting a game is never a small feat, and you should be proud of what you've learned and accomplished. And while we sadly don't have time to talk about more of the submissions, not to worry. You can and should head over to the Jam's itch.io page right after the episode to play the games we discussed here, along with the over 500 other Game Jam games that you all created. Seriously, y'all are bonkers in the best kind of way. The link to all that goodness is in the description below. And of course, for those of you who feel inspired to make your own game with us next time, Zoe and I have some good news for you. Hit it, cat.
This is not the end of taking care to jam with good friends. Strategy rhymes using Cora Cry. Take a game from design to proof, all in such little time. We're always gonna jam again. Author tells me that's a given, and we'd like to all extend that invite out to you. We'll let you know more when we can expand more info than this song can give you. But we're always gonna jam again, 'cause we wanna jam with you. Oh yeah. Take us home, Zoe.
Once again, thanks so much to the folks at Core for sponsoring this game jam. If seeing all these awesome entries got you excited to finally take a crack at making your own game, Core is a fantastic place to start because it's a game construction kit and game playing destination all in one. There are thousands of free, high-quality assets to use, and more than a dozen game frameworks to help you get started. No coding experience required, even if you want to make a 3D multiplayer game. And if this isn't your first game development rodeo, Core lets you build your entire game from scratch and create your own game logic in Lua. Best of all, though, it's completely free. So check out the link in the description below and get started today. Legendary thanks to Ahmed Ziad Turk, Alicia Bramble, Casey Mustia, Dominic Valenciana, Gunnar Clovis, Kyle Murgatroyd, and O'Reels1 for helping to make this show possible.